Kevin's an Army specialist. Kevin, why don't you just take a minute and tell your story? We've been asked for security reasons not to get into the details of kind of how we got here, but maybe talk a little bit about your situation.
Yes, sir. I was deployed to Afghanistan, and during my deployment, I received several injuries, including traumatic brain injury, severe hearing loss, and also vision impairment. I spent about 3 years in the military total. Getting out of the military, it was kind of hard to transition into the civilian world. Trying to find a job that was willing to cooperate with a 25, 30-year-old who has constant appointments, who can't hear, who, I have issues with headaches. It was really hard to find an employer who was willing to work with that. A lot of people say they will, and when it gets down to it, a lot of people go the other way.
So we teamed up a few years back with Cyber Times. On the last slide, I didn't call it out. We love all the partners. We got great partners that are doing awesome stuff. The Upskill team has a video. I call it the 34% video. If you haven't seen it, ask them about it. AMA, MovieMax, all these folks, Logistiview, they got really cool stuff that you could leverage. This was just the story we wanted to tell. I'll give you some of the other reasons. If you've got questions, raise your hand so they can get a mic to you. We can talk about this. So your traumatic brain injury caused hearing impairment and vision impairment.
I'm sorry, what's the question, sir?
So I'm on the wrong side.
Yes, you are.
Your hearing and vision impairment. Can you just talk about your hearing and your vision, where you are percentage-wise?
Okay, I'm completely deaf in this ear. I lost 70% in this ear, so I have a total of 15% of my hearing left. Unfortunately, I'm not deaf enough for a cochlear implant, and at the time when I was in the hospital, due to my brain injury, they didn't want to do any more surgery on the brain. Cochlear implant, I'm not sure, everybody's probably familiar with the cochlear implant. It's an implant inside the brain and a little magnet that goes out of the hearing device that lets somebody hear that has lost complete hearing in their ear. So there's also a bone-in jaw hearing, and I was too deaf for that. So it was kind of a, here's a hearing aid for your one ear, your other ear is kind of nothing we can do about the situation with the VA-wise. The vision, I've got about 40% of my vision left with the correctional lenses that fixes the issue right away, but there's still
kind of residual type issue.
Yes, sir. There's still things that could be advanced on. So I switched sides. I'd forgotten about his hearing loss in the right ear, so it'll be a little easier to hear. So do you have something you just want to demonstrate quick? We can show the capability of the device.
Processing image for OCR. Finding text and image. IQCIX view the future.
So it basically just read what he had in front of him. So, what Cyber Times did was Cyber Times went after solving a problem, found a capable device. It turned out to be ours. This is the device that's approved for the Wounded Warrior program. By the way, there's a lot of chatter online about this. Just to be clear, the Wounded Warrior program serves every wounded warrior that comes back, everyone. It's not one that gets advertised quite a bit, but it serves every veteran. There's probably 200,000, close to 200,000 veterans with vision impairment. So Cyber Times went after the use cases saying, if I've got somebody like Kevin who wants to be able to get back into the workforce, I can help their hearing, I can help their vision. What if I could use this technology to actually improve this? Kind of a weird thing happened on the way to that party. It turns out that folks that take the technology and deploy it can actually go and work in a warehouse and do picking, and can actually be more effective in a picking environment than someone who's fully able but not complemented with technology. Talk about some of the other things that the device, that the solution provides for you. So we saw that it can read to you. You talk about going to the grocery store, you talk about watching TV. Give me some other examples of things you can do.
There's also a facial recognition mode on it. For people, it's a little geared toward people who are more completely blind. They're not really sure, say if your wife, you're kind of talking to you, she's got that tone, you're not sure if she's upset with you. There's a facial recognition mode, you can snap a picture, and it'll read back and it'll say, hey, she's 80% annoyed, or she's 80% upset. a big one that helps us men out there, especially the blind man.
I could just put that on replay for my situation. I drive my wife nuts.
Yeah, sir. And then there's also like Mr. Paul said, there's also a bar scanner mode. You can go to any Walmart or any grocery store and you can hold up a can of soup and you just scan it. It'll tell you what the can of soup is, what size the can of soup is, how much it costs. There's also a color recognition mode, and it goes deeply vast into the colors. It'll give you the scientific name of the color, and say you don't quite understand what that is, it'll also say, hey, that's 80% blue, or that's 50% red, when it gives you that scientific name. A lot of those colors I've never heard of before. The OCR mode was reading the text. A lot of my friends who were blind, their biggest complaints to me was going home and helping their children with their homework. How am I to sit next to my son and help him with his math now? How am I to sit next to my daughter and help her read her English? And that was one of their big things to me, where when you have your down days, you reach out to your battle buddies and you say, hey, how you guys doing today? Hopefully your battle buddies having a better day, can pick your day up. So when they call me and they're down and say, hey, my daughter, I really want to help this, and I really would like to, or reading a credit card statement. Some people have to have their children read their credit card statement to them, and it could be a little bit embarrassing. Especially if you've been in a situation like my situation where you've been unemployed for 7 years, you've been trying to make it on your little bit of disability that you have, and you do odd jobs here and there. I really don't want my son knowing what my credit is. I really don't want him reading all my bills. That's kind of a personal information I'd like. He's 8 years old now, he's completely understanding that stuff. So there's applications out there, just fast applications that can be used. Just like I said, it just depends on your impairment, how vast your impairment is. From completely blind to just being a little blind, there is a little bit of help in there for everybody.
Think of when I talked about the big brain and the little brain, that's not about you, Kevin, right? The little brain, that's not what I'm saying. The little brain is the device that Kevin's wearing that's connected to the big brain, because every barcode in the world, while you can probably put it on the device, that's not necessarily the right way to do it. So what you want to do is you want to read it, you want to ping against some database, bring that back, and then it whispers in your ear and tells you what's going on. So I'll apologize in advance if we inadvertently insult anybody, because that's not the point, but tell me about the 70-year-old woman that was blind that got the device and you were helping her through her use cases with it, getting set up.
Absolutely, sir. There's about a 70-year-old woman. She received this device. She had her granddaughter there for the initial training. We spent an hour and a half with her initially, just getting the device set up. When you get the device, the big issue is the fine-tuning of it. Everybody has different preferences, whether this volume being louder or softer, the contrast of it, the brightness, it's all of specifics. So we spent an hour and a half with her and her granddaughter was a little more tech savvy. In 2 weeks, we had this lady where she was on her own and she could operate this device.
I've got the blades here. It looks like sunglasses. If you haven't seen them at the booth, you want to try them on and see what a waveguide lens looks like. In a year, we'll be at a point where we've got folks not wearing a device that looks like Terminator, but it's actually a set of sunglasses that look like Oakleys, right? We have that tech working. You can see it if you haven't seen it. So we're out of time. I want to keep everybody on time. I hope this was valuable. I would like to ask you, first of all, on behalf of all of us, to thank Specialist Garland for his service, his military service, and he's going to kill me for having done that to him. He's one of the humblest guys you'll ever meet. He's going to be around for a little bit. You can talk to him about the device and try these things out. And if you're not on it, you're just wasting time. I'd love to talk with anybody who wants to explore these things any deeper. So thanks for your time and patience, and thanks for letting us present. Brian, I'll turn it back to you.